The Treasure of Jamshid. One day, Bahram rode on his horse accompanied by his cheetahs and falcons for hunting towards the lush valley. His hunting led him to a bushy grove that was like a beautiful paradise. But the surprising thing about that village was that there was no sign of people there. It seemed like the land of lions. Bahram said, "Truly, only heroes can live in such a place, to protect themselves against predatory animals." This thought was still in Bahram's mind when his horse suddenly neighed at the roar of a male lion. Bahram restrained the horse, put an arrow in his bow, and skillfully shot the arrow towards the male lion. The arrow struck the lion's body to the ground. The lion roared and breathed its last. The death of the male lion angered the lioness, who swiftly pounced on Bahram from his horse to the ground to avenge. Bahram had no choice but to draw his dagger from its sheath. He put his hand on the belt, pulled out his dagger, and before the lioness could harm Bahram, he stabbed the dagger into the lioness's body. The lioness's blood splattered on Bahram's face, and he, after a painful groan, breathed his last. After the king was saved from the angry two lions, an old man slowly and cautiously approached Bahram, with a smiling and happy face, and helped Bahram to move the lion's body aside and get up. The old man's name was Mehir. After Bahram thanked him, Mehir said, "I hope the universe always writes happiness in your destiny. I am a farmer, who is the master of these lands, and I have a herd of cows and sheep. But recently these lions have come to this land and have endangered farming and herding. So we no longer had any crops and our herd had become the daily food of these lions, and we had become destitute. But God showed us mercy and sent you to save us from the harm of these beasts. I would be very pleased if you would show kindness to us and sit under this tree for a while so that I can bring you some milk and honey." Bahram accepted the invitation of the kind old man and sat under the tree. Mehir brought the bards under the tree to entertain and cheer up Bahram. After that, Mehir slaughtered a sheep and prepared a kebab, and gave Bahram a golden cup filled with crimson wine to host him. Then the old man and Bahram drank the fine wine, and when their heads warmed up from the wine, the old man turned to Bahram and said, "I have seen your face somewhere. This face, like the moon, is stamped on the golden coins." Bahram said, "Yes, wise old man, you guessed right, I am the king of Iran." The old man said, "Truly, the stars know how to determine events, for I must tell you an important matter. A few days ago, I wanted to divert a small stream from the river to my farm. The water flow became intense and caused a sinkhole in the ground, producing a surprising sound. It seems like the sound is similar to striking a bell underground. I think there might be a treasure hidden in this land." Bahram, believing in the wisdom of the old man, ordered the laborer and the mule to be brought there and a path to be opened to the ground. It was night and the workers lit candles and started preparing the ground. As the sun was rising and the sky turned purple, they continued digging the ground until they reached an underground structure made of sapphire. Then they hammered it to find an entrance. A priest and another man entered the building and saw two statues of cows made of pure gold. The eyes of the cows were made of red sapphire, and the bodies of the statues were adorned with emeralds. Around them were golden peacocks with chests and eyes made of gems. They informed the king, and he quickly returned to the forest. Then he ordered them to investigate whose treasure this was. The great priest entered the treasury, and he had the knowledge of reading ancient scripts. So the priest saw the name of the great king Jamshid on the bodies of those two golden cows. Then Bahram said to the great priest, "Since you are wise, tell us what should we do with this treasure? Why should a treasure that Jamshid left as a legacy be shared with me? Any treasure that comes to us other than through the sword will not bring us any good in the end. My soldiers should not be tainted by this treasure. Just as our treasury is enough to pay the wages of the soldiers, we must count all this treasure according to the custom of the Kayanian kings, sell them, and spend the money on the poor and widows. Because the poverty of the people troubles me. As long as I am healthy and well, I have no need for Jamshid's treasure. Whoever wears Jamshid's shroud has no hope of happiness in this world. As long as I can conquer and gain a lot of booty with my army, I have no need for Jamshid's treasure. I rely on this swift horse and sharp sword, and I am not deceived by this treasure. My real treasure is the effort, sweat, and suffering endured to achieve victory. So, to satisfy the soldiers, he rewarded them with a year's salary from the royal treasury, and adorned the fire temple of Adur Gushnasp with jewels and pearls. Then he held a great feast and said to his friends, "From Jamshid to Khosrow, whoever wears the crown, all of us kings take our turn, and cannot take anything with us to the grave. Unless we leave something behind. Some of us leave a good name behind and some by the hatred and curse of the people with their lives. So we should not be deceived by the pleasures of this world, and become the heirs of the treasures of the past. This time will eventually pass well. So why should we be sad about the world? I hope none of the people of my land, from the peasants to the servants, suffer and their complaints do not hurt my heart. What value is there in my people suffering and me increasing my wealth from the treasury of past kings?" An old man was sitting in that gathering, so he sent his greetings to the king and said, "I have heard from the ancients that a kingdom like yours will not come again. You are the hope of the nobles and the glory of the gods on the throne of Iran. Your heart is like the sea, and only from such a sea does such a wave of nobility rise. The light of knowledge and wisdom has risen in the sea of your heart. You have scattered a treasure that no one has seen or will see in the world." Since the time of Jamshid, when they spoke of this treasure, they called it the treasure of the cows, but no one knew if that treasure was under the ground or in the dragon's nest. But when you found that treasure, you did not even look at it, and it was shameful for you to become the heir to the treasure of kings in this transient world and gave those jewels to the needy. I hope that your crown and throne will remain eternal, and that you will always be victorious and happy.